The college football experience, Toledo Rockets 2024 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up, and when you do, sign up with the promo code TCE SGPN to score up to $1,000 in bonus cash. They just introduced college football best ball, folks. Get on over there. Underdog Fantasy, promo code TCE SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your free 7-day trial period today by going to Rhythm, going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
This is Mike Leach, head football coach at Mississippi State, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Football experience, Toledo Rockets 2024 season preview episode. I am excited to talk about the Rock. You know, there's only one team, as far as I know, that has a rocket pointed at their rivals' midfield. All right, that is what I'm talking about. You got me there. I'm on board the rocket ship, so to speak. So excited to talk about the Toledo Rockets, who almost had should have had an undefeated regular season a year ago, if not for a late collapse there in Champaign, Illinois. And I think it was the opening game or maybe the second game. Excited to talk all about it. And youtube.com/the college experience, folks. We just dropped our week 0. Week 0 plays all 8 games, including the FCS, including just teams you've never heard of. Get on over there. Check that out. We've also doing our win totals locks episode tomorrow night. We do have the MAC and Conference USA win total locks episode, and we're almost home. Here. YouTube.com though. All 134 previews will be up there within the next 7 days. So get on over there and check it out. If you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, that's fair. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. Would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
Poured ourselves a cocktail already. Let's go. Look, I honestly think when it comes to MAC football, Toledo is way better than everybody else. And they've been way better than everybody else for a while. I know Bowling Green fans gonna be pissed. They're gonna be pissed with that statement. Maybe Northern Illinois fans. But this is a team that has been really fucking good. I remember the days of watching Wasan Tate. Look, I love this. Look at this.
Falcon leg right here.
YouTube.com/the college experience. I am joined by someone I've wanted to get on the show for a while. It's probably my fault that it's taken this long. But he is the host of the Midnight of Blue and Gold Launch Pod podcast. Give it up for Dan Savage. How are you doing, brother? And appreciate you making time for my dumb ass to talk Toledo football with you, brother.
Dude, fantastic. Absolutely. I'm so honored to be here. This has been a long time coming, man.
Well, dude, I love it. You're eating Falcon wings, obviously. I got the hang on one second. Sorry, Homer Simpson. I got the Battle of I-75 little helmet thing going here. Now, it has Bowling Green side too, but I only put it on the Toledo side. I only showcased it on the Toledo side because I endorse anyone putting a rocket on their rivals' midfield there, or even though we haven't shot it off yet. Any word if we're going to shoot that thing off soon?
It's actually getting repainted as we speak, so they're getting it ready for flight this season.
Fuck yeah, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go. Yeah, I appreciate you making time for us, and I should have I probably didn't check my message, or I would have brought some Falcon wings too. But first off, pre-episode you're telling me, and I guess I kind of knew this from a college basketball episode we did, was that you are, your grandfather, the basketball stadium is named after your grandfather, the Savage Arena, which, by the way, fantastic fucking name. Tell me about that. Tell me about the history of your family with the University of Toledo.
Yeah. So, my dad is one of 9, so big family. Only a few of them went to Toledo though. They're scattered. We got some Miami in the family, some Ohio State. But my grandpa, it was named after him. He donated and raised a lot of money, a lot of the funding. Used to be called Centennial Hall. Then it turned into Savage Arena or Savage Hall. Then they renovated it in 2008 and it became Savage Arena. My Aunt Kelly, actually, she's the leading 3-point scorer in women's basketball history at UT too. So that was the early 90s, man. It just runs through us. Midnight Blue and Gold, man. We bleed it.
I fucking love it, dude. Cause like my recollection. So I like one of the benefits of being, I don't know how old you are. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
30.
Okay. So I'm like 12 years older than you. And I'm 41, but I imagine I'm turning 42 soon. So I was kind of at the forefront, like anyone of my generation or my brother's generation, of like, or maybe some people were before me, but my dad brought home like a cable. We got cable in the late 80s, and then he brought home a satellite dish in the early 90s. But we didn't have access to all those games before then. You know what I mean? So like I grew up in the Washington D.C. area, and it's like, but I do remember, like I let in with Wasan Tate, who was a running back that I remember in the 90s, and pre-Chester Taylor. I remember watching like Maction. It wasn't on Tuesdays or Wednesdays then. It was like, I think for some reason I want to say like I kept getting Toledo on a Thursday, but I could be wrong. I just remember us watching that specifically, I believe the Gary Pinkel era. And it was like, that it is so nostalgic with me. Certain programs, like I say this for Hawaii and Washington State and somewhat Toledo, Marshall as well. But so I've kind of been a fan since then, and back then, and it's really been. I know we're gonna show a slide here in a minute on some of these power schools you've beaten along the way, but they were always good to me. Like, what are the dark years in your lifetime of Toledo football? Because I don't feel like there's really been dark years.
Yeah, so I'm 30 years old. I was born in 94. They've had 4 losing seasons in my lifetime, and that was 06 to 09. It was the end of the Tom Amstutz era, and in every single one of those years, they still defeated a Power 5. It was Kansas, Iowa State, Michigan, and then Colorado.
Think, right? Yeah.
So like,
unbelievable.
Even the down years aren't really down. So maybe I was born on third base. I don't know. They had a losing season in 93. So I think once I was born, I kind of got us over the hump.
There you go.
Yep.
I want to talk more about that in a second, but I want to let the people know that you are listening to the College Football Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Everything in the merch store is 10% off because, damn it, it's football season. Use the promo code football. You can go out and get yourself a Pick Dundee t-shirt. It's about the closest thing, maybe a Patty C t-shirt. It's about the closest thing to being as cool as having a rocket ship lined up at your opponent's or at your rival's 50-yard line there. So did I say rocket ship? Rocket. Anyway, plus college football is kicking off in 48 hours here. Tune into the Sports Gambling Podcast of the College Football Experience for all the Week 0 picks and all your favorite futures. Get on over there. Remember, as always, folks, to let it ride. All right, back talking Toledo Rocket football with Dan Savage here, host of the Midnight of Blue and Gold Launch Pod podcast, or one of the hosts. I'm curious where you're at, because like we just talked about, the program has standards. They have really high standards, in my opinion, as they should. They've been a quality program. If I guarantee you, if you run like the 12-team playoff exercise since like the 90s, they would have been in some of those years. But where are you at with Coach Jason Candle here?
So I actually used to work for the football team. I worked exclusively under Campbell, except for the 2015 Boca Raton Bowl, where Jason Candle came in and he was the interim, and we beat Temple. So I know him personally. He's a great guy. Team GPA is up. Community service is up. He's putting dudes in the NFL left and right. I mean, to me, he's elite. He's absolutely elite. I know that some Rocket fans think that maybe he hasn't won the big game, but to be honest, Toledo hasn't gotten the game scheduled where they could win. I mean, if you look back, go all the way back to, I mean, they beat, I think, maybe Purdue in 2010, should have beat the Buckeyes in 2011. But since, I mean, we played Missouri twice when Pinkel was at the helm, and they won the SEC East the first 2 years he was in the SEC. And we played a great Miami team twice. I mean, back to back, they're two best teams in the last decade. We play an 8-win Kentucky. We play, you know, a team that should have beaten Georgia 2 years ago in Ohio State that crushed us, but, you know, we still scored 21 points on them. Notre Dame 2 years ago or 3 years ago should have won that game.
Oh,
so,
my
I mean,
God, that one bothers me.
I mean, besides Illinois last year, where even Toledo like controlled the entire game, we haven't had the chances, and no one wants to play us from around here anymore. So we're glad in 2024 to have at least one game on the schedule that is a Power 5 that seems beatable going into the year.
Now, I mean, I just want people to know how close they were to having an undefeated regular season a year ago. And a shout out to my guy, Alex Shear, that I know, also big Toledo fan, went to Toledo.
I know him. We're good buddies.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. He's fantastic. And his Mac podcast is absolutely great as well. So, but he nailed it with 11-1 on the season a year ago. That was his projection. And actually, a lot of people talk shit on our on our page, on our YouTube page about that. What they thought I was just putting on clean homers, which I was, but he was still right. I mean, sometimes the homers are going to know better. Like, it's like, you know, with me and ECU or Colorado, I feel like when they had Carl Durrell, and I was like, yeah, I'm on the under. I went to Vegas, bet the under on the team that I cheered for. So like, yeah, I sometimes I feel like as long as you're honest with yourself and you know it, they almost had a perfect regular season and probably should have, man. They were kind of up majority of that Illinois game. Now, I'm curious, what was your take? I mean, obviously I know you were disappointed in the MAC championship performance there, but do you feel like, what was your overall take of the season last season?
It was acceptable. I think the offense, for as statistically dominant as it wasn't really fluid. It seemed like it was an all or nothing drive. Like they'd score. I mean, Penny Boone really ran it down some teams' throats, but then we still punted a lot. It was kind of a weird season. We rested on the defense a lot, and we played a lot of teams closer than I thought we should have. But then again, it's the MAC. I mean, if you look at our 3 games, which fans were pissed at, were the UMass game, the Ball State game, and the Western Michigan game. All games that we were trailing. UMass and Western Michigan at halftime, like by a decent margin. And then Miami had worse outcomes than we did against those teams. So at the end of the day, it's just the MAC. And if you can put together a decent home field advantage, which Toledo does have, one of the very few teams, I mean, Ohio is probably the only other one in the MAC that has a home field advantage. You just got to escape those games and get through the non-con. And I like the way that Toledo schedules typically with 2 G5s, an FCS game, and then a bye game against the Power 5. Yeah,
me too. So Jason Candle's 65 and 35 in 8 years at Toledo, played wideout at Mount Union, coached at Mount Union and was with Matt Campbell. You know, he's been with Toledo since 2009. So stability. Didn't you turn down the Miami Hurricanes offensive coordinating position?
Twice. He did it again last offseason too. Cristobal can't figure it out, so he needs our coach, but that's fine.
Well, I mean, look, Jason Candle will down the ball. He will down the ball. All right. If put in that spot, you got co-OCs and Robert Weiner, and Mike Hallett, and the DC is Vince. Is this Carries? Is that how you pronounce it? Karras. Okay. I am curious. we got a 12 team playoff now. And I want auto bids for, I think it should be more than 12. But I'm very excited about this is getting me super excited about college football. Like I haven't been in a long time because of the 12 team, because I think it's a step in the right direction. I don't know that the powers that be will ever let me get auto bids or let, the college football world get auto bids, but I think they should. But I still think even with the model we have now, like as an East Carolina fan, I'm like, I see a path for us, right? I see a path for us. And just that means so much to me. Like just the hope that we could potentially get to a playoff game. I feel like in the same vein as Toledo in a way, like you can show a slide of ECU from like the 1990s where they've beat that, we beat like the top 5 Miami Hurricanes team, you know what I mean? In a neutral site too, like in Raleigh, North Carolina. I mean, a little bit favored for us, but how excited are you that you could potentially have the Toledo Rockets in a playoff game? And what do you make of this? Because I just feel like I want to highlight the fan bases that have been damn good fucking programs too. Like been a part of damn good programs like Boise, Fresno, Toledo, Memphis. What do you make of this 12 team playoff? And do you share, like, is there a new excitement about Toledo football perhaps that maybe wasn't there before?
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, we just saw with Quinyon Mitchell going in the first round, how much extra publicity we got from that, extra press. I mean, Saban literally said he tampered and tried to get Quinyon to go to Alabama, and he didn't, and he stayed at Toledo. So for one, that's huge for recruiting. For two, I mean, that's just dollars to the university. And at a time where enrollment's kind of down, like any TV time you can get is amazing. That's why we want game day to come back to a Max Stadium. It's been a while. And then two, like people keep talking about this G5 playoff, which I think eventually might be fine if they stuck with the 12 team model and the G5 team got blown out every year or something. But like, slow your roll. This is the first year of the 12 team. Like we have no idea what's going to happen here. And who's to say 9-4 Iowa State doesn't win the Big 12 and then they're the 12 and the 4 seed is Boise State or something. Like that could definitely happen. Yeah. So you never know. All publicity is good publicity. I think in certain years, certain teams, like we saw Northern and Western Michigan do it, it can definitely happen where you're the top of the mountain in the G5.
Yeah, you're right. And dude, I'm just so excited at the possibility of this stuff. Like and for the G5 playoff, a lot of people asking me about that too. And I feel like I'm not going to say no because it's probably going to be more valuable than a bowl game, but I also don't want them to not be a part of. Like my fear is them not being a part of the split off or whatever the fuck they keep talking about of like, oh, the power schools will just leave them behind. There's only a 2 or 3 year contract with the group of 5 for this 12 team playoff. So, I'm with you. I want to see it. What's that?
How did like TCU and, SMU and Cincinnati, how did they get to the conference that they're in now? It's like by winning at the lower level. If you take that away from us, then you're never going to see another team elevated. So like that is a part of the natural path of college football. So you got to give us a shot. And if they did ever do like an 8-team G5, I would still want the number 1 to go into the regular playoff, and then 2 through 9 can battle it out and just make the Cure Bowl mean something more, I guess, Yeah, I'm with you too. And I'd like to see them do something where the transfer portal is behind that, so you don't see a bunch of players opting out of that. Yeah,
or maybe NIL driven. I don't know, but Jason Candle, I think you're in good hands moving forward. Now, I want to talk more about the offense, defense, special teams. Go game by game on the schedule. But before I do that, I want to let the folks know that the College Football Experience Toledo Rockets season previews brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy Pick'em gives you a chance to win 1,000 times the amount of money you enter, or you can play fantasy football the right way with Best Ball. Yes, Best Ball Mania is live with $15 million in prizes. And they just introduced college football best ball. Unbelievable. I've been waiting for that for like 20 years. We just dropped an episode on this very feed. NC Nick, Moneyline Mac. I hop in there for a little bit. So go seek that episode, but also just shout out to Underdog Fantasy for making that a reality, because I hadn't seen that ever. You can now use specials and boost on all flexed entries as well. So sign up, and when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN. to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com promo code TCE SGPN. We're also brought to you by Circa Survivor and Circa Millions. Love the Circa in Vegas. If you haven't been, well, it's paradise. Derek Stevens done an unbelievable job there. Circa Sports is back with Circa Survivor and Circa Millions, giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes. And look, today's Thursday, August 22nd. So you're going to want to get out there tonight, tomorrow, something like that, because it runs all the way to the 24th. What I mean by that is Ultimate Contest Weekend is running from August 22nd to August 24th. Get out there. You can still use this promo code SGP15 to save you 15% off your hotel room. But in general, whether you get out there this weekend or not, sign up at in person at Circa Sports between now and September 7th. And look, you're not gonna have to fly back to Vegas every week, right? You can use a proxy to play from anywhere. We even have a deal with a proxy for you. Go to proxy.footballcontest.com to save you $50 with the promo code SGP. You also get a free hat. Who doesn't want a free hat? All right. Back on the Toledo Rockets season preview episode. It's funny that Saban admits for the tampering.
Unbelievable.
Did you see Chuck?
He coached at Toledo, so I guess it's fine. We'll take it,
Chuck Martin also said today, I don't know if you've seen that clip, the Miami, Ohio Redhawks head coach said that they asked about losing his place kicker that had won what's that kicker award again? I always draw a blank on it. No disrespect to the kickers out there, but
yeah,
he was the best kicker in college football a season ago. And Alabama, and he basically said, no, they clearly tampered. They went and contacted him. We know that. So, calling out the University of Alabama. And here's my problem with shit like that is like Kirk Ferentz is suspended for one game for doing that. I can't help but think of Jerry Tarkanian's words of, hey, hey, Kentucky got caught cheating. So I'm sure Cleveland State will get a lifetime ban to the NCAA tournament. Yeah, just ridiculous stuff right there as they come down on Iowa for one game. But meanwhile, this is just good. It's like that meme of like Leslie Nielsen, nothing to see here, just all this shit going on behind him from Naked Gun. Let's talk a little bit about program changing wins. For the group of five, we like to highlight, and I only did this since the turn of the century, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to know your answer, but look at the meat on the bone here for Toledo. They have won games, youtube.com/the college experience. And by the way, that logo's fire too. You guys have kicked ass against some major programs. Like this is since 2000, but in my mind, in my lifetime, born in 83, Penn State, UCF in a way, Michigan, Colorado, BYU have all won national championships in that time. All right. And there's wins. Yeah. Toledo's beaten all those schools. You won at Penn State, and this a lot of people will think, I think they confuse it sometimes with the Ohio win. That was during like the Bill O'Brien, or maybe it was like the last couple Paterno games. No, this was like 2000 when like Paterno had like 8 or 9 more years at Penn State after this. So that's when he really had that thing going. And then the Michigan one at the Big House. Which one you think is like the one that like if you're at an airport in fucking Australia and someone says, yeah, you like Toledo football? Yeah, let me show you this win we had. Who would you? What would be the one you would rep?
Well, like in my formative years, that Penn State win was huge. I was like 6 years old. I've only missed 2 home games since 2000 that season, and Toledo went 10-1 and didn't make a bowl game because there was only so many bowls and so many tie-ins. Like we lost to Western. We beat Marshall. Yeah. We beat Marshall 42-0 that year, and Marshall won the MAC because of just the divisions. So that one was huge. It's just as far as like growing up, but around here, we're 45 minutes from Ann Arbor. Even if we were 3-9 and they were 4-8, or they were 3-9, whatever, Michigan, that's the biggest win in program history.
Yeah. Unbelievable win at the Big House. I remember that pick six. There was a big pick six in that game, or was that a fumble?
109 yards.
Yeah. Unbelievable right there. Let's talk a little bit about the offensive season to go. 29th in the nation in scoring per game, 39th in yards per game, 67th in passing, 15th in rushing. all of those were first in the MAC. I'm wondering if I fucked up the passing graphic, but I think
No, the
those are
MAC
all
was
accurate.
just bad at passing last year. If Gabbert would have been
Uh,
healthy, it would have been Miami.
That's true. That's true. Or even if Rourke maybe had finished the season, you know what I mean? Like when did Rourke get injured again? What that was like probably week 7, something like that.
They were more of a defensive team last year. Ohio was weird. So
Yeah.
He didn't have the weapons around him to showcase his talents, I don't think.
Yeah, fair. They were first though. So Toledo was first in everything, every statistical offensive category in the MAC a season ago. What's the one that jumps out to you there is like surprising to you or great that, is there one that jumps out more or is that just what you think? You demand we're the best team in the MAC every year. So no, I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, I'm not really surprised. Toledo's had a ton of good running backs. I mean, getting back to 15th in the nation is kind of like where Toledo wants to be. I think 67th in passing that's just a give and take you get when you have a quarterback like Daquan Finn, who is going to use his legs more if he can. And then really, it didn't seem like we scored that much. I think that it might be a little thrown out of whack because we scored 71 against Texas Southern, really.
That probably is. That's always what's interesting is you can find different sites that don't include the FCS game, So the numbers I've had people argue with me, your numbers are off. And I'm like, well, I just grabbed it from, NCAA.com. You know what I mean? Right. So it's like, whatever the fuck. Now the bad news is there's only 5 starters back. And I'm being generous by saying 5 because Tucker Gleason started 3 games in his last season, or was it his whole career? I forget, but
his whole career.
Yeah, his whole career, 3 games. The entire offensive line is gone, but damn if the receiving core should be decently intact. And same with tight end Anthony Torres coming back, kicker Luke Pollack coming back as well. Normally it's terrifying when you have no returning starters on the offensive line. How concerned are you about the problems at the offensive line, perhaps?
I mean, now we don't have Tucker Gleason as a backup. You want to keep him upright. So that's always going to be something you're worried about. I love our wide receivers. I think it's the best, probably the deepest core on our team. But I'm definitely worried. Hopefully the first 2 games against Duquesne and UMass will kind of let them get into sync a little bit before they got to go on the road to Starkville. But the 2015 team also had 5 new offensive linemen, and they went into Arkansas and won. So as far as history goes, if you're looking at the last time it happened, that was a successful season. Yeah.
And so you lose all 5 offensive linemen. And by the way, we should note that Jason Candle has Toledo's #1 recruiting in the MAC every year. So they still are super talented even with that. Now, obviously the running back Penny Boone leaves. I mean, I guess let me just jump into that because Daquan Finn, who's a really good quarterback, he's now starting at Baylor in the Big 12. Penny Boone will be getting, he could be starting some of these games. I know they have RJ Harvey too, but he transfers out to UCF. And you also lost one of your 5 offensive, or he didn't start. Did he start last season? Yeah, he did. He did start last season to Texas Tech, Vinny Scurry. How bad are those hits? I think they're all pretty substantial, right? I mean, not Michael Kelly or the JUCOs, but how bad is the Boone, Finn, and Scurry hits?
I mean, on paper they're bad, but last year we got a kid Orr from Florida State who didn't start for us, which people thought they would, and then Cannon, a Mississippi State transfer on the O-line, and those guys got to sit behind and build with the team. This year we got a kid, Jacob James from Ohio State, who didn't start for them. That was kind of their weak spot, but Big Ten weight room, that always helps. We got Carter Foudy from Air Force, and then a couple guys from the FCS ranks. We got a Prairie View A&M kid who I think is going to be pretty good, Alan Jones Jr. So actually on our podcast, we did bold season predictions. O-lines in the MAC aren't really good in general. I think that we'll still put out 3 all-MAC guys on one of the teams. So I am worried, but still Toledo develops fine. Not to say that they won't leave after they have an all-MAC type of season next year, but I think we'll develop them and be okay at least for this MAC schedule.
Yeah, and you went out in the portal, and this is brought in Terrell Crosby from Iowa State. Matt Campbell is saying, "Hey, I got a spot for you to go." Jacob James. Obviously, this is the talk. I feel like I've talked to a few people regarding MAC football, and I said, "Well, they lost all 5 offensive linemen. I don't know if we should put Toledo number 1." And I feel like the same answer I've got from like 3 or 4 different people. Jacob James, Ohio State transfer, coming in on the O line. You know, they didn't mention Alan Jones from Prairie View. Shout out to Bubba McDowell, the coach there, who's been on this very show. But Jacob James, is this how excited is that? And do you share the same opinion there? Is like this guy's a stud for us?
I think he just came somewhere you can play and start. So, the sky is the limit as far as a team you're going to find in the MAC that's going to have an offense behind you that can be productive. 6'6", 300 kind of works in the G5. So I'm excited for all those guys. They're all big ass dudes.
Are you at all concerned they didn't use the portal more, or is that something that you think is a value because you've been recruiting better than the rest of the teams in the MAC?
I think we actually use the portal fine. The problem is Penny Boone starts at Maryland. He went to the same high school as Daquan Finn. He's a 4-star. Goes to Maryland, transfers to Toledo. When he's a transfer, he's a 3-star. And by the time he leaves, he's a 4-star again. Daquan Finn comes in as a 3-star, leaves as a 4-star. We got 2 guys on defense coming in. Jadarius Perkins from Florida. He was a 4-star. And now he's a 3-star coming in. You get Lance Dixon, the number 1 overall linebacker in the country, 19th overall recruit in 2019. He's a 5-star out of high school. Now he's a 3-star. Like I don't put any credence into the rankings and stars. We're just gonna have to see how it turns out on the field, really.
Yeah, that's fair. Do you think this offense will put up better numbers than a year ago? All order, but do you think there's a schedule? I mean, we're gonna get to the schedule, but like, do you think the offense will put up better numbers in general? Will it be a better offense than a year ago?
I think it'll be less clunky. I think the passing numbers will be better. It's going to be tough to repeat the rushing numbers from last year. 15. I mean, you have a 1,400 yard rusher, and then you have Jacquez Stewart behind him. Like that's pretty rare in the MAC. Plus, I think there's a couple other running backs in the MAC that will be putting up good numbers as well. So probably not the same rushing, but it should be a smoother offense.
And what's your overall take on Tucker Gleason? Like when I saw him play, I was impressed when he came in. Obviously it was a backup, but I thought he played pretty solid in those games.
Yeah, I think he went to Georgia. He was recruited for Georgia Tech when it was like the last year of the triple option. And he went there for a year. He was like the 29th overall quarterback in the country. Great rushing quarterback in high school. And then he transferred here after a year, and he's just been, back up for 4 seasons, and he's only a junior now. So he's seen it all at Toledo. He's a leader in the locker room. So I can't imagine he's too much of a step down, even from a great player like DQ.
Yeah. Do you find yourself like, I'm an ECU fan, so I think we share the same thing in a way. It's like you almost want them to not have too good of a year.
Right.
Because
exactly.
Like, it kind of sucks because like before, like, Bruce Gradkowski or Chester Taylor or whatever, that, they're probably going to stay there their whole careers. But now it's like, instead of high school recruiting, they're going to go raid like your superstar that you built up, like I could like, and if it was, we would have lost Chris Johnson, after his sophomore season when he, or Jeff Blake back in the day, like we would have lost him right away. And that sucks because you build such fond memories in a way. Do you think there's a chance that Tucker Gleason has balls out and like another school comes calling and say, hey?
Yeah, he'll probably get his doctorate somewhere else if that happens. I mean, like Logan Woodside, he was a great G5 quarterback. His junior year, he threw for 40 touchdowns and 9 picks. In today's era, he definitely would have been picked off by someone else. But if Toledo makes the playoff, I don't give a shit what he does. Just do your thing, buddy.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit more about that, and then we're going to talk about the defense. But I want to tell the folks out there that the college football experience, Toledo Rocket Style, is brought to you by Rhythm. Yes, have you ever wanted to create your own sports betting model for football? Do you even know what a sports betting model is? Well, SGPN's proud partner, Rhythm, is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money line, spreads, totals, and props. Simplify your betting process. College football kicks this Saturday, as you well know, folks. I've been using Rhythm for everything: golf. Shit, I even used it for WNBA at one point this summer. All right. And I just built my models so I can actually, I actually know what to bet on in some of these random games, like the Delaware State Hornets missing their flight, catching 40.5 on the island. I've never been more excited to watch Delaware State football in my life, thanks to Rhythm. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. We're also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is now a authorized ticket marketplace of the MLB, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier than before. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch, with killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Look, we got the World Series right around the corner. End of the regular season. Maybe you didn't get out to a game yet, so what are you doing? You listen to this in the area. Get out to a Cleveland Indians game or a Cincinnati Reds or Detroit Tigers. And look, it's not only baseball. If it's you're gonna go to the Glass Bowl, which is one of my favorite stadiums, by the way. One of the more underrated football stadiums, I think, in America is the Glass Bowl there in Toledo, Ohio. Get yourself out to it. But if you're gonna go to a game, bust out that Game Time app, download that thing, create an account. Use the promo code CFBX and boom, $20 off your first purchase. Once again, terms apply. Create that account, redeeming code CFBX for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We're back talking Rocket football, and I do love the Glass Bowl. It's a great stadium.
Please absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Never move from that. Yeah. But I was going to ask you this before we talk defense. Like, sir, how's the NIL situation at Toledo?
Well, I just learned this week that Bowling Green doesn't have one. Like, they have no money. So, like, as far as the collectives around the conference go, I think we're definitely in first place. We've got a few of them. We've got like a couple basketball only ones. We've got, a society that just donates to an entire fund just to get everybody fed and stuff like that. So, I mean, nationally, probably not great, but in the MAC, if not the top, near the top.
Gotcha. I just feel like Toledo does such a great job developing players. I would love to see them stay there. And I think that's another thing that comes with access to the playoffs. And that's why I want all the power schools are terrified of this. This is probably why they want to break away, is because if you get auto bids, if you open up this playoffs and let teams in, it changes everything. Fandom within that town, businesses within that town could potentially be thriving. Sports bars, pizza places, whatever, right? And A plus B equals C to me. Like that means, next thing you know, they're going to be donating money because they believe they have a legit shot at the table. As an ECU fan, it was like, dude, we go 11-0 or 12-0 back in the day. We went 11-1 one of those years, and it's like, okay, they don't even let us play. Like they'll like set you up. That's the worst part about it, was like they would set you up with like another mid-major. It's like, no, we want a chance at playing the big boys. You know what I mean? So, something to also watch though is like that. Whoever gets in that group of 5 bid, I think they could build on that. Whether it's Boise, whether it's Toledo, whether it's Memphis, I think that's going to open up doors that they haven't seen before. Whatever program gets in there,
1,000%.
Yeah. The defense, 21st in the nation a year ago, just giving up 20.3 points per game. That was 3rd best in the MAC. 27th in yards, 331.8 yards per game. That was 6th best in the MAC. 16th in pass defense, 3rd best in the MAC, and 61st in rush defense, 5th best in the MAC. All very respectable, but is there one that you're disappointed in from a statistical standpoint, perhaps?
I mean, not really. I think the schedule last year was a bit weak. But then again, we had 3 players in the defense sit their bowl game against a pretty good Wyoming team and still only gave up 18 points. That was good enough to win that game.
Yeah.
I think rushing, we weren't super cohesive in stopping the run, but we kind of had a clunky schedule with like we didn't know who Luke Altmaier was going to be in week 1. I think we could have defended him better had we had a game of tape. I think Pumachan at UMass was kind of injured, so we didn't know what the hell was happening with him. And then he was gunslinging in the first half. It was just kind of a weird way that the schedule ended up. So I think probably we could have been better defensively in stopping the run. And that's where I think we'll actually thrive this year on defense.
Hell yeah. You're only bringing back 4 starters though. And that's why I'm interested. I want to hear what you say there. You think you're going to thrive on defense, but you look and you got 2 back on the D line, 1 back in the linebacking core, 1 back in the secondary. Punter Emilio Duran also back. Why are you so enthusiastic there? Just because of the recruiting, or is there you being tipped off to some stuff? Tell me why you feel great about the defense.
Oh, we played 10 guys in the D line last year. So like every single guy in our D line has played here before. Kayvon Butler, Darius Alexander is going to be a top 3 round pick. Jeremiah Peters was injured halfway through the year. We've got a safety, Emmanuel McNeil Warren, who people think is he's just as fast as Quinyon. He had 4 forced fumbles last year, 69 tackles and 2 picks. And technically he didn't start, but I mean, those are big numbers from a backup safety. And like I said earlier, Jadarius Perkins coming from Florida, the West Virginia transfer, Dixon at linebacker. We'll be fine on defense. Is the depth at corner is kind of where we're going to see, but I don't think Toledo, outside of Mississippi State, Toledo doesn't play too many pass happy offenses in the MAC.
Yeah. You did lose a couple guys in the portal. Delancey going to Wisconsin, I think is the big one there.
He was our 3rd string corner. I mean, he was our 3rd starting corner. A great guy to watch on the sideline. Great special teams guy. But I don't see him being anything more than just a special teams piece there. To me, that one was a head scratcher.
Yeah. Okay. Now you did bring in, as you alluded to, some guys, Jadarius Perkins from Florida, Zeke Blake from Youngstown State. The Penguins always keep a good program there in the FCS. Lance Dixon from West Virginia and Anthony Dunn from Florida A&M. Which one are you most excited to see on the field this year?
Lance Dixon only played 6 games last year for West Virginia. He started off at Penn State, and so I'm kind of just wondering like what happened there. Was there like a grades issue? Like I just don't know. So I'm really curious to see how he's going to fit in. We lose our other linebacker last year, Dallas Gant, who had like 120 tackles. So that's going to be a big spot to fill. And Florida A&M keeps it real. They went like 12-1 last year. That's a good program.
Yeah, very good.
So
program.
If we're getting a DN from there, plus we've got a kid from Florida or from Missouri a couple of years ago, Travion Ford, that played a good amount, but he's going to get to start this year, I think. I'm excited about the defensive line, like really, really excited.
That's encouraging. That's really encouraging. And it makes me think, another thing is like, it's surprise, like it makes my work better on the slides when I only have like, am I counting this right? 6 or 7 guys that came in for the whole team.
I think it's more than that.
Yeah. Did I fuck that up? I might have. Yeah. Okay.
I know. We've had a lot of guys in the program that were transfers like a year or 2 ago. They just didn't see the field.
No. Yeah. I'm saying this year though, they didn't use the portal that much, but they seem to be precise on what they wanted and what they got.
Exactly.
The win total sitting at 8.5 wins. They're plus 280 to win the MAC, plus 2,500 to make that 12-team invitational playoff, plus 80,000 to win the Natty. 8.5 wins. This is supposed to be, I feel like talking to other people. That's rebuilding year. We're still going to be good, but rebuilding year. Where are you at when you first see 8.5? You're like, yeah, we could do that.
We're not double-digit dogs anywhere on the schedule. We might only be dogs once at Mississippi State, and if they lose to Arizona State, maybe not. Probably will be between a field goal and a touchdown there. Western Kentucky, who knows? If they get slapped by Bama, we could be favorites down in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and then Miami and Bowling Green are at home. So if you're looking at the schedule from like, there's a lot of toss-up games, I think, but as far as being favored, I see 10 or 11 here.
What do you think of that plus 280 to win the MAC championship?
We saw it last year where we won the regular season matchup and didn't get it done in Detroit. So, I mean, that's tough. I don't know if you've done Western Michigan's prediction yet. They miss us, Miami, and Ohio because it's a pod system now. There's no more divisions.
Yeah.
So Western Michigan gets to play Central and Eastern protected, and then a round robin with the rest of the MAC. I think Western just has a schedule advantage as far as just making it to Detroit. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd take a shot out on us, to be honest.
Yeah. Shout out to 20 MC because this guy isn't a homer or anything. That's probably the Toledo backdrop there. No, but hey, we had a homer on last year. We had a homer on last year, and he nailed the exact record at 11-1. So 8.5 is the win total. Game one. I love a good Pennsylvania Ohio rivalry here, even though I know Toledo's way over there on the other side. The Duquesne Dukes, CJ Sullivan, my pal, the Bet Detectives alma mater. Wasn't that long ago they were in the FCS playoffs. This will be a blowout. This will be a blowout though.
If you go look at the last few scores against FCS teams, it's always 60-something-7. I mean, we haven't even been scared since '88 when McNeese State beat us down there in Louisiana. So should be a win.
You guys played at McNeese too?
It was like a year or two after they broke off from.
So it was scheduled still. Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that apparently that's what we did in the '80s. You would go down there and they pounded us. But '88 was before I was born, but not when Toledo hit their heyday.
Yeah. Week 2, home to UMass. Now, I got this as a win, but I don't think it's going to be this year. I think UMass is going to be in decent shape coming into the MAC. Now, it doesn't mean I got them winning the MAC or anything next year. They're not in the MAC this year, but I think Don Brown's doing a good job with that program. Where are you at here? 2-0?
2-0, but it's scary. I mean, they scared the shit out of us last year. I like that it's at home. But this is kind of trappy. So if you're looking for a team to cover that's maybe 2 touchdown plus favorite, that's one I'd look at.
Yes, and then you head to Starkville, and there's nothing more than I would like to see than you guys win this game in Starkville. The fans are great in Starkville. The cowbells, I got mine here on the shelf somewhere here. But I just I'm not the biggest fan of. Why am I drawing a blank on their head coach's name right now? The guy who ran the offense. Yes, Jeff Levy. He's got this. I don't know if you've heard me talk about this. It's my most hated offense in the league because he does the late quarterback slide. So he's trying to get the 15-yard penalty. I think that should be illegal in the fucking sport. Personally, like I think like the abrupt slide that he's been doing, when he did with Matt Corral at Ole Miss, when he did with Dylan Gabriel at Oklahoma and UCF. Mm-hmm. And look, I'll be honest. When TCU knocked Dylan Gabriel out of the game at Oklahoma, I fucking said good, because that shit's got no place in football, man. Like, and the fact that no one has courage to talk about that shit to me, that what they're doing is an offensive. It's like the Kenny Pickett's fake slide shit, right? That thing is worse for the sport than people realize. Like they always want to talk about player safety, and it's like, what are you supposed to do? We're gonna penalize these defensive guys for a game of that's really fast on the field, and then all of it, you're gonna commit or not. Oh, they get ejected for doing what they should do. You know what I mean? How am I supposed to know when he's gonna fucking slide?
Go ask Moneyline Mac what happened with Lance Dixon. But if he got cut from the team or something halfway through, I say we just fucking level him. Get his ass kicked out and show him we mean business. Let's saying, man. Like that doesn't scare the shit out of me. Like fuck that.
Dude, I can't stand that he's. And I know, like, I thought it was just at first. I thought it was maybe just like when he was at UCF, and then I saw him do it at Ole Miss with Matt Corral, and I go, this motherfucker coaches this. He coaches this because it's too similar. I see this. Please win that game. I have to favor Mississippi State because of Starkville, but not by much. By like 2, you know what I mean? 2.5. I was confused with the Blake Shapen get. Doesn't really fit that offense to me, but maybe I'm just an idiot over here having a cocktail. Where are you at?
There's a Baylor swap with Finn going to Baylor and then Shapen going there. I don't know. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I think we win. semi-handily. I could see us giving up points. I think they're going to be kind of nice. Like they might have a nice offense through the air, and that's kind of where we're going to be slow. But with our wide receivers, as long as that O-line can stand up, I mean, Mississippi State returns one starter. I don't like this game does not scare me at all. I think the boys are going to be fired up. So I got it as a win.
Love it. Now I will say this: if you beat Mississippi State and you beat an SEC team on the road at their house, this next game would terrify me. Then now I have you guys losing the state by like a field goal, and I have you winning in Bowling Green, Kentucky, because I'm not as high on Western Kentucky as I feel like some people are, having them play for the CUSA championship. I still think Jacksonville State's better than them, even with all the moving parts there. But I will say, if you are right and they beat Mississippi State, I do think they might be partying a little bit there in Toledo, Ohio, and this could be a tricky one. I'm going to say you win though, 3-1 at the bye week. How about you?
Well, they got 100 miles of hate the week before us.
That's a great thing. That is a great thing.
And if we do lose Mississippi State, there's an avenue. We're down 28-10, pack it in, and then we give everything the rest that we have to Western Kentucky. I think they're both going to be wins. I think Western Kentucky will be high off that win in Murfreesboro, and then Toledo's now on playoff watch.
Love it, dude. I hope you're fucking right, man. I hope you're right. They get a bye week, then they're home to Miami, Ohio, revenge game. Our guy Alex Shear said he's terrified of this one because he thinks Miami, Ohio is pretty damn loaded. Because I said this is a revenge game, and he's like, I don't know, with no offensive lineman back. And it kind of, I had Toledo winning this as a revenge game, but I was weary when he said, he sided with Miami, Ohio. I'll give him credit for being honest, but where are you at with this one?
So the bye week is huge. Regardless if we're 2-2 or 4-0, it's a good spot to get a bye before your home opener, homecoming. And Toledo is the only school besides Ohio that's going to sell out homecoming. A ton of Miami alums in the Toledo area. They'll travel well for this. But I mean, if you look at Miami's schedule, they get Northwestern up on the lake. They get their rivalry game with Cincinnati, and they got to go to Notre Dame before us. So I'm not even sure Gabbard's going to play here. He might be dead.
Yeah, you're right. Notre Dame's D line is nasty too. That's a fair
point.
But
I think regardless, it's basically a toss up, and the game's going to be low scoring. They've got the best defensive, Ty Wise and Matt Salopek are awesome there. Big respect to Miami, but I like our edge at home.
I took Toledo on the pod. So I got you 4-1. You got them 5-0, and then they head to Buffalo and to DeKalb, back-to-back away here. Dan, a few years ago I brought up a stat, and I didn't do my homework this offseason on this because it actually takes just a lot of math, and I don't like math. There's a reason why I just said, let me get drunk and talk about football my life.
Hell yeah.
But the back-to-back away thing, there was a stat, I want to say it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, that teams only won 7% of the second end of the back-to-back away for the entire FBS, which blew my fucking mind. It blew my mind at the time. I was like, whoa, maybe I don't emphasize that enough when going through these schedules or going through these games.
Well, your big teams are never getting two road games in a row.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, so that's part of it.
Yeah, that's true.
That doesn't include Georgia and Alabama and Michigan. So
that's a good point because they never get. I think I did a deep dive on that. Poor Iowa State and poor I did a deep dive on the Group of Five. I'm sorry, the Power Five, and Iowa State has gotten dealt 3 straight away games 5 times since 2000, and I think the same can be said for Arkansas in the SEC.
I believe it. Yeah.
And then you look at Oklahoma, and it's they've had 1 back-to-back away in 10 years. You're just in conference. That is. You're
and one was a neutral, probably. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's oh man, it makes you wonder. Any chance? I have the Buffalo game as a win, but the other one. Now I will say with Thomas Hammock, I don't find them to be. Let me know if I'm wrong here. People ask me who do I think is the pride of the MAC? If I had to gauge it from past 20 years. I think Toledo would be 1. I think Northern Illinois would be 2. You?
Until last year, probably would have had Northern 1.
Yeah.
And they scared Toledo in the Glass Bowl last year, but I don't know, they're always good for like a weird Power 5 win. But under Hammock, they have not been consistent at all in conference. So
do you think he's on the hot seat? I think he should be on the hot seat. And I hear he's a hell of a nice guy. I think he should be on the hot seat though.
I think he is, but he also played there. So he might have a little bit of leeway. If they can go 7-5 or 8-4, he'll be safe. If they don't go bowling though, they don't find a quarterback that they like. I mean, with Ontario Brown, you should definitely be in the upper echelon of the conference.
They were on such a run from Novak to Jerry Kill to Dave Doran. They're just not at the same level. Now they're still at a respectable level, but for like 15 years there, they were like really fucking good.
Yeah.
So you think you win both those back-to-back away? I hesitate a little bit on the Northern Illinois one.
Well, Buffalo, I mean, Pete Lembo was at Ball State.
I like that hire. I like that.
He always got us. I mean, that was a terrifying game in Muncie always. So the fact that it's year 1, I think we win in Buffalo, but it might not be easy. And Buffalo's kind of had besides last year, Buffalo's had our number. And then Northern, we call them the non-rivals, or I do at least, because we've got Bowling Green as the main rivalry, but they fucking hate us. So I think we're their homecoming. That could be a loss there. Northern Illinois, that's scary. For this, I'll call it a loss.
Yeah, I think I'll join you on that. I think I'll join you. I feel like Northern Illinois always gets somebody.
Yeah.
And if you look at what's on deck,
exactly.
I mean, Battle of I-75. I'd be. I've talked to many people. I was at not only was I at Mountain West Media Days and stuff in Vegas at Circa, but there was like a college football conference thing going on, and a lot of people like Bowling Green to win the MAC this year. I am not one of them. I am still a skeptic on Scotty Loeffler. I'm still not buying that hype. I got Toledo winning this game. And part of look, I know some people say, well, that's just because you're having the Rocket Man Dan Savage on the show. No, I really believe that. I don't buy into Bowling Green yet. I know. Look, I understand if you do the exercise and look at returning production, former SEC quarterback, you can convince yourself it. I get it. I just don't buy in. I don't.
I think Fannon's great. I think Stewart, the running back's great. I'm not a fan of Bazelak. Ever since his first year, I think at Missouri, his percentage has gone down. I mean, maybe it went up slightly last year, but their running quarterback Orth. I mean, he's like 6'5". I think that if that dude starts, they have a better chance with him. The Glass Bowl is going to be sold out. It's the first game in 8 years on a Saturday. There's just no way that Toledo lets this one slip. They're going to beat Bowling Green.
Hell yeah. Let's go. Shoot that rocket ship off. Let's go. Or that rocket off. Where are you at with the weekday games too? Like part of my thing, and I say this as an ECU fan, I wish we played more weekday games. I think you got to search for your edge. And I think a lot of times they put the time, and I get it. Like ECU's got a big enrollment, and it's like, yeah, but they'll kick off at the same time as NC State and North Carolina on a Saturday. I think we should think outside the box, especially in this day and age where you clearly see TV ratings are the driving force behind all this goddamn conference, and your whole value, the whole reason why you're playing. In a way, it's like they're threatening. Some people think they're going to be. Kyle Whittingham just said this on an interview in the past week. He thinks 60 teams will split away. Right now, that makes me terrified for that. Like, I don't want that. I want ECU to still play NC State, North Carolina. So like, to me, I'm like, get our ass out on weekdays more, play more weekday games. Where are you at with that? So
the thing with Maction is I almost wish they would switch with Conference USA for October. We're further north. So like November games, even on Saturdays aren't going to be well attended. I mean, if it was October, I think you'd have some better showings on TV. But I'm mostly in the camp with you. Like, I think TV's great. It sucked playing Bowling Green 7 straight years on a weekday. Now that's going to trade off, and that's fine. But dude, who doesn't like getting off work on a Tuesday or a Wednesday and slamming beers in the parking lot? Like, I love action. Everyone's gambling now. It just furthers the program's image, I think.
I agree. I think more teams, and I'm surprised. Like even the FCS. Sometimes I sit there and I'm like, North Dakota State, what are you doing? Play on a Friday night or a Tuesday or anything but Saturday evening. You have players that are going to be in the NFL, and that's your attraction. That's what you want to market. Well, they need to be seen. Well, after the Battle of I-75, this is a scary game to me. I like Chris Creighton. I think he's underrated. Now, last year that team was not very good, but I just love anybody. This goes for any team. The week off of a big rivalry win, and you got to hit the road. I always circle that shit. I think that's always a sneaky spot to get him. That's why we mentioned Western Kentucky up there. Going into the factory of Eastern Michigan. I mean, I think Toledo's a lot better than Eastern Michigan, like as far as roster. But why am I terrified of this game? Why do I think this is probably, like, to me, the third loss on the schedule? I just feel like it's a sneaky, scary spot. Am I a fool?
I don't know. I mean, Eastern Michigan's roster is weird. They brought in Buffalo's quarterback, so
Snyder,
that's to be better. But I don't know. It's Toledo. Toledo's only 45 minutes from Ypsilanti. We always bring like 1,000. Like, they just give you the whole other side for your fans, and it's almost makes it like it's almost like a mini home environment. Like, our bench is next to us. They don't have to worry about the fans there. I mean, the track got removed, but they didn't bring any seats closer. It's just a weird environment where, like, there's just no home edge. So I think we can kind of do our thing and just escape. I mean, I had this as a lower scoring win. I don't like 28-10 or something. Like, until I know more about Eastern, I don't have a big read on this game right now, but I'm fairly confident we'll pull it out.
There we go. And then you got Central Michigan the week after. I think there's a chance McElwain could be fired by now. And I know I'm going to speed things up a little bit. And my apologies, Dan. I've already ran over an hour, and I have a radio spot in about 8 minutes. But
we're having fun.
Yeah. CMU, I got that as a win. If it was in Mount Pleasant, then maybe you could sell me on something. I don't know. But you got that as a win as well?
No, we've lost.
Really?
We've won 11 out of 12 against Central. I think this is the year where McElwain needs to win this or get fired. So this is actually like the second loss. I think it's just a first midweek game at home, and the other one's going to be much more hyped up. I think this is like our sleepy home spot. We expect to win and then give one up to the Chips.
Okay. Well, then you got a bye week, and then you're home to the Ohio Bobcats. Ohio lost everybody in the portal. I got to give this to Toledo.
Yeah, I think we smoke them. I don't think.
I feel sorry for them in a way. I'm like, good God.
Yeah.
Then they're at Akron. Joe Moore had critical year. I thought he would have hit the ground. Like, I know they almost beat Indiana and almost beat a couple other teams, but it just didn't work out. It just hasn't been working out. I'm a skeptic now. After getting my futures burned the past 2 years, I got this as a win. How about you?
Yeah, it's before Thanksgiving. It's one of those games where if we're safely in, we'll sit players and win it by 14 points or something. But if we need to win it, I think we can do whatever we need to. Akron's defense will be decent, but I like this as a win.
Yeah, and that puts me. I think, like, if I was setting this line, I would put it at 9.5. So I think there is value on 8.5. And I also think the plus 280 on the MAC championship. Now, I haven't done Western Michigan's preview yet. That's coming up in the next couple of days, but I mean, why not? Toledo's got the track record to show to prove that they're one of the better teams. They're the best team in the conference, best program in the conference. Them or Northern Illinois, like you said earlier. I don't think but you're still getting good value for a team that seems to prove it year in and year out. But I do like the over. I just think I'd take the over too. Like, I might even feel more. What do you feel better about there, the over or the conference odds to win the championship?
I think the over, just because if we're somehow 2-2 and reeling, I think they get refocused and they run through the MAC. Just you saw the schedule, like it's a very nice home schedule. And if they are 4-0, that's when you have a few trip up games. But at 6-2 or 7-1 in the conference, I think Toledo's going to be back in Detroit.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, folks, that is our show. We're both on the over. Make sure you get out there and follow Dan Savage, the Rocket Man, on Twitter at Dan Savage _live. Get on over there and do that. Check out the Midnight of Blue and Gold Launch Pod podcast. We are both on the over with the Rockets. Let's shoot off that rocket as well. There you go. Some sweet koozies. Get on over there and subscribe to that podcast. Appreciate you, Dan, hopping on. And I can't wait for the season, man. Let's go. Let's get that win in Starkville. Let's get that fucking
Had a
win
great
in
time,
Starkville, man. Hey,
Hell
it's
yeah.
an honor. It's an honor having you on the show, man. Folks, once again, give him a follow. Check out his podcast and check out the College Football Experience as we inch closer and closer to the season. More previews coming up over the next 5, 6, 7 days. So, youtube.com/the college experience. Give me a follow on Twitter at DColbyD. The College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. Till next time, this is the College Football Experience, Toledo Rocket style. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run.